If there's one thing you can say about the Star Wars fandom, it's that they're passionate. We mean really passionate. From live-action role-playing clubs to Reddit threads discussing whether Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord, we've seen it all. Today, we're taking a look at those Easter eggs and secrets from Star Wars that even die-hard fans didn't notice until now. 11. The Rogue One Prison. Rogue One wasn't a traditional episode by any means, and by the end, we had one of the most badass moments we've ever seen from Darth Vader. But the movie also had smaller moments that made it a true Star Wars entry, such as the big yellow letters introducing the title to a planet and spaceship appearing in the midst of space. It also had several Easter eggs prepping in the movie to give longtime fans something to talk about. There's a planet where we visit the prison colony called Wobani, but does that name sound familiar? If you rearrange the letters, it spells Obi-Wan, which is a deliberate nod towards Obi-Wan Kenobi. Speaking of Obi-Wan, we can't wait for the new series to air and finally see Ewan McGregor back as Anakin's master, exploring the galaxy after the event of Revenge of the Sith. 10. The Starkiller Base. We first saw the Starkiller Base in The Force Awakens, which had replaced the Death Star as the more advanced and more deadly superweapon that the First Order would use to literally destroy several planets at once. But there's someone else who would have been called Starkiller, and it's Anakin. Initially, George Lucas started creating the world of Star Wars. He came up with the storyline of Anakin Starkiller and the Rebel Alliance. This changed, however, when Lucas created the character of Luke and left Anakin's story for a separate trilogy. He also changed the violent-sounding Starkiller surname to the more honorable Skywalker. We love when content that was scrapped in a previous iteration of the story is brought back in a meaningful way like this. 9. The crew cameos. Speaking of meaningful ways in which things are brought back, there's a tradition among Star Wars crew to make tiny cameo appearances in the movies they're making. It's a sweet little addition to the franchise as a whole, and what's even better is that most people don't realize who they saw until they've been told where to look. For instance, did you know that Ben Burtt, sound producer in Return of the Jedi, was the one who told Han Solo to freeze when he stormed the Imperial bunker? Rick McCallum and Paul Martin Smith, both longtime producers of the franchise, have appeared as Naboo noblemen at the end of The Phantom Menace during celebrations. Gareth Edwards, who directed Rogue One, made a cameo appearance as a fellow Resistance soldier in The Last Jedi. What makes this even better for Star Wars fans is the fact that Rian Johnson, who directed The Last Jedi, made an appearance as Death Star technician in Rogue One. We love when there's inside jokes between directors like this. 8. Hyperspace tracking technology. The term hyperspace tracking is first heard in a dialogue between Rose and Finn in The Last Jedi. Basically, before this technology existed, you couldn't track a ship while it was traveling in hyperspace. It was impossible to track Resistance ships that way because navigational systems couldn't lock onto something that could enter and exit anywhere in the universe. But with this advanced new tech, the First Order was able to do just that. But if you watch Rogue One carefully, which was released a year before The Last Jedi, it's revealed that Jyn Erso came across files for hyperspace tracking when she infiltrated the Imperial data facility on Scarif. In the chronological timeline of the Star Wars, though, this was 40 years before it would actually be turned into a reality. Now that's a payoff fans expect. 7. Lando Calrissian's diaries. Everyone loved learning about Han Solo's early smuggling days and how he came to be who he was in A New Hope. This included Han's escapades with a crew of space gamblers and pirates, which Lando Calrissian was a part of. In Solo, we saw Lando lose his Millennium Falcon to Han in a game of sabacc. We find out that Lando recorded his adventures in a digital diary. What made it even better was learning that the stories he mentioned in his digital diary are references to real-world books that were written by L. Neil Smith. The 3 stories mentioned are Lando Calrissian and the Flame Wind of Ocean, Lando Calrissian and the Star Cave of Thon Boca, and Lando Calrissian and the Mind Harp of Sharu. We're definitely picking those up tomorrow for some weekend reading. 6. Yoda's hut. We couldn't not include a Yoda Easter egg in this list. In the original trilogy, fans saw that Master Yoda lived on Dagobah, in a small hut made mostly of debris and mud. He invited Luke Skywalker into his home, in which we saw plastered walls and some sort of light source. There's something interesting about the small hut though, so let's go back to when Emperor Palpatine said the famous meme line, "Execute Order 66." The Jedi were targeted and killed, and Master Yoda, being one of the most respected Jedi in the universe, had to escape and used an escape pod to do so, landing in Dagobah. If you look closely, the hut he's living in is that same escape pod, using the pod's power source as light and constructing a small home around its exterior. 5. The potatoes in a minefield. This is one of the funniest discoveries eagle-eyed fans have made over the years. When fans got their hands on the VHS copies of the original Star Wars trilogy back in the day, they had the ability to pause individual frames in order to see the gags that the production team left in the movie to amuse themselves as well as fans. This infamous possible Easter egg happens in The Empire Strikes Back. When the Millennium Falcon is trying to lose the Imperial fleet by flying through an asteroid field, we see giant rocks smash into Star Destroyers. If we look closely, you'll see distinctive shapes in the asteroid field. Apparently, the prop department left several potatoes there. What do you see? 4. The flying shoe. Here's another Easter egg that's just like the last one. Potatoes are one thing, and if they're hidden right, they can blend into an asteroid field and fool us all. But what about a shoe? This occurs in Return of the Jedi, when Luke, Han, and Leia are on Endor, trying to dismantle the shields. We see the Rebel fleet above the planet trying to destroy the Death Star. Lando Calrissian flies the Millennium Falcon toward the Imperial fleet, and if you pause the movie at the right time, you'll see a tennis shoe floating among the many Star Destroyers. We have to admit, this is one of the most amusing Easter eggs we've found yet. 3. The Falcon's cameo. This little Easter egg is very easy to miss. The Millennium Falcon is known for being used in the smuggling business way before either Han Solo or Lando Calrissian had ownership of it, with Solo co-writer Jon Kasdan confirming this. When you take a closer look at the docking bay of Coruscant when Anakin and Obi-Wan return from saving Palpatine, you'll see the Falcon appear briefly on screen. Considering that both Han and Lando would be teenagers during the Revenge of the Sith, it makes sense that someone else must have had ownership of the Falcon and regularly used it for smuggling items across the galaxy. 2. Rogue One's ghost. We've seen Disney put out the Clone Wars to bridge some of the gaps between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, filling in plot holes and adding new interesting characters into the mix. Star Wars Rebels did the same when it introduced the Ghost Starship, a heroic vessel whose crew worked with the Rebel Alliance to bring down the Empire. When watching Rogue One, a few fans have spotted the Ghost Starship appear several times, especially in the Battle of Scarif. It can be seen close to Admiral Radiss's ship during key points in the action. You've got to give it to George Lucas and team for filling in so many details between different movies and bringing back key characters to keep Star Wars fans searching for more. 1. C-3PO and R2-D2 in ancient times. This isn't an Easter egg that's seen in the Star Wars films, but it's nonetheless significant for the fans who found it. And besides, it has Harrison Ford in the scene, who's played the charming Han Solo, so that counts, right? The Easter egg comes courtesy of the friendship between Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, who gave each other feedback in the 80s about their respective franchises. Lucas probably would have given Spielberg the idea of adding Easter eggs into his movies to make them more future-proof, since people would keep talking about it and dissecting every scene to find clues. And Spielberg did just that. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, there's a scene with Indiana Jones and Sala where they pull the Ark of the Covenant from its resting place. If you take a look behind Indy's left shoulder, you'll see hieroglyphs showing everyone's favorite C-3PO and R2-D2. Maybe they came to Earth a long time ago from a galaxy far, far away. You never know. Easter eggs like these are part of the charm of Star Wars, and they're the reason why fans keep coming back for more movie marathons. Every time you watch them, you find something new. And that's all for today's video. What are some Easter eggs you found that you think others haven't discovered yet? Share the details in the comments below. And as always, hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and hit subscribe so you never miss out of any of our new content. May the Force be with you.